Perhaps this is the first time that even though he is in pain, he still feels very happy. Rest assured, mother and also Ho Vijian, there are people who are willing to stand by the child's side. While at that time, in Dai Demon Quan Square after Thien Pham was brought to Wai Quan, the ceremony was paused and all martial artists needed to meditate to recover. Fuck Dai, there were only a few people who were not injured at that time, so they still at least sat and looked at the main lake. The procedure had been completed, and they were running to report on the first stage exam results. A total of 415 people passed, including the junior students who went to Wai Quan, so compared to 10 years ago, there were still 200 people missing. Indeed, the secret sect of Yin Gong is too much for them. It seems like the eliminated people are showing a lot of resentment. Some of them are screaming, thinking that it was just because they were tired from standing in the sun for a long time that they fell. But they still have enough strength to endure. They complain about their fate, which is too vague for the future. The only thing left to do is go home and go to work. Many people came out to prevent it, but it was still impossible to say who they were ordered to immediately suppress opposed to chase them out of the demon shop. The Black Clothes used their fists to deal with the children. Thai Truck was beaten to a pulp. It's too unlucky to do the negative attack and a punch too, so doing this is to show them how useless they are. The leader said that Lai Ho Men also had no opinion because the first test was too much due to the fact that the team had suppressed Thien Pham. That's it, but for those people, being unlucky and incompetent is their destiny. Those guys who passed stage 1 all proved to be very useful. Most of them were still practicing healing, but 8 of them were in the sect. The high-ranking sects and bloodlines under the 6 great sects have overcome everything. Of course, the young masters are also more than capable of promoting more than half of their efforts. The power of Yin Gong is still not affected, which means that internal Gong has been practiced for at least 12 years and can surpass the top experts. 2 of the 6 people are the heavenly magic of the mysterious demon. The other one is Thien Hu. Thien did not move at all when he heard the sound of destroying the fire attack. After listening, he knew in his heart that the inheritance war now only had 2 sects, Huyan Ma and Huyan Ma. Dao Ma is truly beyond my expectations. This year's contest is very interesting. Lai Ho Men spoke up to congratulate the contestants. Young students who pass the first round exam will be awarded the badge symbolizing a high-ranking martial artist of this dojo, and in 4 years will become a new student of this dojo. The magic shop is trained to answer with magic will replace the 2 words yes or no and can only add fuck min fuck. All the chosen people chanted the devil in unison. He continued to force the junior students to choose for themselves own team group during this time. Bok Trong Min had found all the tools and was preparing to treat Thien Pham's injuries. He tried to use needles. To do this, he raised his voice to call and inquire, but the doctor introduced his family name so that it would be easier to address him instead of calling him like that. Please call me by my name for affection. Trong Min's voice was low as he described the male lead's current condition. It will take at least 2 weeks to recover. Pham was very shocked because it took so long and he didn't know what to do. Because Nano has already started healing his body. If he recovers too quickly, it will create a lot of doubts for everyone. But treatment normally you can be eliminated from training after being brought here. You don't know what will happen after the first phase. You know what to think. In the patient's heart, Trong Min promised to try his best because he was a true disciple of the divine physician Bok Thien Pham. Although I can't comfort you much, I will pretend that I don't know that you learned martial arts from the forensic protector. This monk also comes from a low-class background, so he understands and sympathizes with the male lead situation. The first thing to do is take off all his clothes. Turns out, this person's eyes widened in admiration. Even though he knew that the patient hadn't learned martial arts, he never expected that he would have such a toned and delicious body. He probably wouldn't have learned it. Internal skills must be learned from external skills. So right when preparing to insert the needle, Nano raised Kan's voice warning of using sharp metal from outside that causes damage to the user's body. Switching to emergency defense mode, Thien Pham immediately stopped all actions to avoid being exposed. Fortunately, he just found out in time, so he breathed a sigh of relief. If you don't tell me that it's a treatment process, no matter how small the injury is, the owner will automatically start the difficult emergency defense mode. I had to remind this strange system not to do that next time. Every time the needle was inserted into the uterus, He felt a little more comfortable in his stomach. The damaged roof of 6 acupuncture points is now gradually recovering. Trong Min was concerned, so he reminded the patient that the process was taking a while. Or should you take a nap? Because you don't understand the acupuncture points. He pretended to close his eyes and asked Nano to explain everything practically. Then it has the ability to heal immediately. But doing so obviously creates suspicion. Even if you get better, Dr. Tran Mach could still be unaware that this was completely doable. However, the intention is to change the rhythm due to being injured for a long time. Thien Pham's intention is that during this time he will diligently study the martial arts of his drunken master Thien Pham's heart. Nano did its job as well as letting Trong Min continue acupuncture. The next morning, all the students started a new day at the magic shop. It was already afternoon and evening. The young students remained silent as they listened to the next rules. Elder Liao Men wanted him to explain to check the future stages of the Demon Hall, intending to waste money on training up to the 3rd step, which is reserved for high-level fighters, so they allocated a certain amount of time for each exercise. Test the time it takes you to learn how to become an intermediate martial artist is 3 weeks. The martial artists were disappointed. They were shocked by the incredibly fast speed. After that time, 20 teams will fight, and only them teams are allowed to enter the stage. After this, it means that 200 people will fail in this contest. Many of them are planning to apply to join the Continental Group. The new sect has a way to break through and shouted, feeling that this method is not good at all. It will only make the children more scared. End today's schedule here. Please rest in the dormitory and be divided into groups, and starting tomorrow, the teachers will wholeheartedly take care of you. Many of the young students were scared when they saw the scene of them suppressing the rebels who had been beaten suddenly and that ended up with nothing. If anyone has an opinion, everyone will disperse. The crowd will continue to discuss all kinds of things. Gayat has run to the head of the church. Number 8 Lambent martial artist. Number 3, why are you still here? I have some questions I need to know, so I want to ask Joe too. You know I won't answer questions that aren't related to training, right? This guy wants to take on the position of team leader of Tam Lam team. Although Ben doesn't know all the contestants' names, the small homeowners are no stranger to their disregard for rules. Gayat Muk explains that Thien Pham is currently being punished, lying in one place. I don't want the whole group to be eliminated because there's one person missing to take the group test. Because today he's not, I can't attend the entrance ceremony, so I don't know the situation here. I just want to let student number 7 hear what happened today. Today, although he is still young, the young master of the demon sect is very sinister and is planning to go to Waiquan and break his leg. In order to please the male lead, he misunderstood its meaning and showed pride that he had accepted the opinion and went directly to Waiquan to inform martial artist number 7. Gayat Muk quickly stopped and wanted to take over this job. Lam Bin changed his expression. It was dangerous and reminded the demon shop not to be a place where you could come in and out at will. The young master now realized that, so he expressed helplessness. His goal is to strive to become that heir, but like this, there is no other way. At first glance, there is nothing left more, so I reminded him to hurry back to the dormitory, but there was still one more thing, so he asked what the initial price could be. Do you know when student number 7 can join the training? It's already late today, so I'll let you know tomorrow. You know that Thien Moon Gayat's plan had to change. He planned to wait for the male lead to recover and make him feel better. Accepting the pain of living is worse than dying. It was evening when Lam Bin ran to Waiquan to ask after him. He was quite worried because of the time. Thien Phien's recovery took 2 weeks. His internal injuries were so severe that he had to stay here at least 14 days. The first wind revealed frustrated and wanting to find a faster way so as not to affect the next stage. Bok Trong Min believes that if there is internal energy, it can be done, but the patient cannot. Lam Bin started to worry because he had to spend so much time staying for 2 weeks, hoping it wasn't because of him. My team was in charge of being eliminated. That's right. He also asked permission to come in and visit Trong Min and admitted that it was difficult. It took a while for him to fall asleep, so the first price was helpless and allowed himself to leave. Before leaving, he stole a few glances to check. After checking, he sighed and seemed depressed and didn't know what to do. Even though he passed the first stage, it seemed like his luck he ended up here, right? Fairy Pham was still crowing, but he didn't know that it was getting late that night. The figure rushes at breakneck speed, the flexible black shadow flies and jumps on the haunted roofs. The location is desired. The main direction is the medical path. The male lead's crowing still sounds like he is cutting wood, and the noise begins to grow louder. Suddenly, the door was broken into pieces. He was startled and jumped up to see who was dreaming with the loud voice. Because he was drunk, he came to visit his newly accepted disciple. Pham seemed surprised because he didn't understand what was going on. The dreamer is still as broken as usual. As soon as he takes vitamin Go, he will ignore the nonsense and no need to say hello, disciple. Please wake up, master. Have you finished the homework I assigned you? The male lead's eyes are wide open. What do you mean? Have you already assigned the secret to inner strength and heart dharma? Did my master say you had to memorize it all before I came here? Feeling a bit frustrated because yesterday I spent the entire day giving Bok Trom men acupuncture. It turns out this person has a personality. As assigned, he had to do it right away. But luckily, Nano was there, so he memorized every sentence and every word. In his dream, he heard that his disciple had completed it. It was surprising that the rooster hadn't crowed yet, so the gods felt that the superiors had arrived a bit early. Hu Hofap had announced many things. The important thing for students to understand during the time I teach martial arts to you is that there are only 14 days when we can meet each other at the medical Dao Quan, but once we enter the dormitory, it will be very difficult for us to communicate clearly during our time at the Demon Dao Quan. Obviously, the male lead doesn't know because he hadn't entered yet. He had to lie down and recuperate. Another problem was when he entered the demon temple, learning martial arts from others is already taboo. Of course, Thien Pham knows this, and if he is discovered, he will be immediately expelled. I probably thought my master didn't care, but it turns out he cares about me. So because I don't have time for T8, the dreamer has asked to start immediately. There will be a session to report on the work situation later, so Elder Wright is very urgent. He reminded his disciple to quickly sit on the ground and turn his back. His voice had to be louder when he saw the boy still dazed and confused. Can you explain why you did that? Don't use the dream to sit down and prepare to cast the spell. Fortunately, I have learned. There is no time left to memorize the formula of the Vo Thien Tam Dharma, so I will impart the inner Kung Fu. This is the method. The most wonderful method was created by the master. You don't have to feel the aura. I know how to do it myself. Just grit your teeth and endure it. If you scream for the guards to come see what's going on, it will be over before Thien Pham can. Suddenly, a strong flow of energy penetrated his body. A sharp pain ran through his body, and the dream reminded him to stop. Close your mouth tightly. Nano also has its own job here, which is to search for comprehensive documents to analyze the energy flow. The system predicts that it is definitely internal medicine or something like that, and analyzes the effects on the user's body, which almost makes Thien Pham about to scream in pain. Even though Nano had activated his protection mode, he was also feeling his disciple's body. This kid really hasn't practiced anything. Why do the coronary arteries and 14 arteries have no difficulty in circulating them? Hon Noi Kong's muscles don't look like they're lacking exercise. As far as I know, he's definitely never learned martial arts. The historian implicitly understands that this incident is related to the old sect leader Thien Lu Tuyen, who admired the beauty of Lady Ho. The two were often affectionate with each other all day like bees and butterflies. So among the 7 wives, Thien's parents are probably the ones. If he was the one who was most concerned, he would have silently taken care of his body and flesh. As soon as he passed on the internal technique, he had a dream. I was excited because if things happened like this, I would definitely be able to create a surge of internal energy in the dormitory within 3 days. The Quan Thien Truong Thien Qua Doc Sex Demon Monastery is being beaten up and the juniors are still standing there, their husbands not daring to attack. After coming in to help fight, they ran to ask about the young master's health. Who is that bastard from the mystical sect who dares? Angry young master of the demonic teachings. Bok Kai smirked and said, "Who am I and who is he? Strong man, because I have won, I will take on the position of team leader No. 12 and return to Thien Pham's place." After completing the process of imparting internal energy, I felt very refreshed and asked the disciple if he could remember anything to mention. My whole body is sore, but I don't forget any movement. I will have to endure the pain for an hour because this is the most suitable method to target for the next 7 days. According to this, your kid will have fully formed his inner strength. The voice of that historian, although happy but also mixed with a little tiredness. Understanding people must have been very difficult. Even though I'm still suffering like this, I'm sure you will succeed and not disappoint your master's expectations. You also know what to say. Why don't we stop here today? Don't forget the breathing and luck of Vo Thien Tam Phap. You should often think about it. After he finished speaking, he had to leave in time to report to the leader. Now only the male lead was left alone to think. The dawn of a new day had begun to flash from the east. He thought to himself that within 7 days he would have to form his inner strength. Shortly after, Magic Square Quan Lai Ho Min has forced everyone to go to the field together. He is predicting that each group will have a captain. Elected last night, looking at their bruised faces, the competition must have been fierce. And that's the reason, because the leaders never entered the dormitory and just let them fight for power among themselves. I was thinking about this when my eyes were also very surprised that Group 12 had a small leader. But why did they have an anonymous number 18 as the group leader? They have had to work very hard to stand strong today. How can they touch someone who has the potential to become a future leader? This guy is not only strong but also this is also very brave. Ho Chen Chuang reminded. It's time to start the training process for the first prison warden within 7 days. In the morning, we will learn the theory of tactics and the dharma of war in the large lecture hall. Have you eaten yet? In the afternoon, the battlefield will be practiced in the courtyard. No one dares to comment, but only shout demonic slogans. Everyone is left. Move to the lecture hall in order of group number 1 is the group that goes first. Gayat Muk looked at Hu Thien's confused face and said in Sung Swang's heart, he was pleased with Tri because his half brother had to follow a small patrol sect disciple. There's nothing interesting about the poisonous sect besides the poisonous sect. That's why I have to obey the low-class sect and laugh after thinking about it. As if he had caught gold and returned to the store, he looked at the expressions of his relatives, but Hu Thien showed bitterness in his heart. His eyes continuously come to Bok Kai's game team leader's place alone. Just play, I'll make you regret ever being with me. My group and I had finished a day of strenuous training and were about to rest when the first wind called our target. Gayat Lai Lam Bin was quite satisfied with his performance in commanding the battlefield today. He announced that martial artist number 7 would have had to lie down and rest for 2 weeks. Even though in theory that was the case, in reality Tutu had no internal strength. So how could he can keep up with us? Now is free time, so you can practice the martial arts of the sect or re-practice today's lesson. Finish listening according to the head teacher's words. This guy seemed angry, and as soon as he entered the room, he showed his attitude to everyone inside. Even though he was upset, I still have to hold back because everyone knows that when you encounter such an evil person, it's very difficult to live here. It's really miserable. Planning to stay at Vad Waikwan for 14 days. Then Tavwan said to calm down the senior. It was the doctor's judgment, so it wouldn't be a mess. At first, he was sure that he had deliberately acted and pretended to fall to the damn dirty-blooded bastard he was only thinking about. I looked so comfortable, lying on the bed. I was so angry that in order to please the young master, martial artist number 80 muttered. After hearing a few words, he seemed very happy and everything went smoothly for Bok Trong Min is yawning because 5 days have passed and no patient has come to visit. He is afraid that Thien Pham will be the patient. I was thinking about the end of my life at this workplace when someone kicked open the door of the Waikwan again and rushed out to see the doctor. Vang ran over to look at the situation of Lam Bin, carrying a martial artist on his shoulders while fencing and was seriously injured by Trom Min Ho. Cheerfully reminded him to quickly take him to the hospital bed. After a while, he quickly treated and stitched up the emotional wound. The patient's condition was fortunately to have no duct meridians because he had very good luck. After hearing this, Zhao Tu breathed a sigh of relief. I'm worried because Phase 2 hasn't ended yet and the management team is missing 2 positions due to serious injuries. The doctors don't care, but just remind the patient to stay for observation. Although not as long as martial artist number 7, the stay will be 3 days. Lam Bin has no other choice but to return to this early training session to know for sure. In a few days, he will have to make a report to explain the situation. Show your superiors that late at night, while the doctor was resting, the injured martial artist groped and gently sat up. Without causing any movement at all, He moved to Trong Mid's working tools with a sharp surgical knife. She quickly took his hand and tiptoed to the bed where the male lead was resting and then gently lifted his legs. I'm sure this guy is planning to cut off his tendons and veins so he can't walk anymore. But as soon as he touches me, the mode automatically turns on. Nano's guard activated himself. Boxer number 23 gasped because of the strong electric shock that went through the airframe knife that also fell to the ground, making a loud noise. Thien Pham opened his eyes and woke up. He looked down at the ground and understood indeed. This guy could very well be Thiem Mucken Guyet's errand boy because it was the middle of the night, so no one noticed. Having figured out this incident, the murderer, after being unconscious for a while, has now regained consciousness. He only remembers the time when he tried to kill him. Then I got dizzy and lay here without realizing that Thien Pham had used a rope to tie it up to use as evidence. Even if I tried, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape the forged cover that had been pulled away when he heard the sound of Thien Pham smiling contentedly. I'd like to politely greet this guy out of breath. What did you do after you fainted? And just put it on the bed. But this guy still doesn't understand why he's like that and is a bit surprised. It was clear that the male lead was seriously injured, but why was he so alert? Thien Pham pulled out a mirror to let him admire the mirror. The mirror reflected his face like an escaped prisoner whose only colored hair was now gone. He felt very lonely, so his whole body screamed because he couldn't accept the current situation. Using physical influence to make it shut up, he slapped its ear and the hide didn't work well, but for some reason he fainted again. Not long after, his eyes opened, but he could no longer speak in a gentle voice. He asked if he was mentally stable. If not, let's get punched again. His words made him so angry that he couldn't stand it. Can you shut your stupid mouth? Boxer number 23 feels so strange that he's so innocent and yet unexpectedly evil. Who is this guy really? Do you know how I survived to this age? No, Thien Pham raised the knife and guessed it was poison to assassinate me. I have too much experience to understand. As soon as I said this, I pressed myself close to his neck and wanted to play with this thing for a while. If I poked him a little, it would hurt. To what extent? Trying to tell me he was drunk and made you do this, forgetting to cover your mouth and not speak. Okay, so I had to take the piece out. Number 23 was breathing heavily because I was comfortable. Is it okay now? Hurry up, let's go, but it don't bother to answer but speak in a sinister voice. I don't know what you're talking about. Moreover, how could you escape while killing people at the medical clinic? In this demon shop, in addition to practicing 2 official jobs, you absolutely must not harm the other person. This guy's sentence sounds so ridiculous. That guy was determined that no matter how hard he was, he would absolutely not open his mouth. His eyes became arrogant as he thought the male lead couldn't do anything. Thien Pham thought for a while, then seemed very excited and continued to lock its muzzle to avoid it. Make noise or not, you just need to wait for me for a moment. I don't have the knack for this, but it's fine here. There are some really good things. I pulled out a bunch of needles from the doctor. I don't know what I'm planning on shooting. First guy. The male lead quickly grabbed his wrist. Although he couldn't speak, it was still in his head. You clearly don't have internal energy. How can you be so strong? Why are you opening my finger? What is he doing? Raise your finger. The male lead smiled so evilly he stuck the needle in the middle of his finger. The pain was so loud that he was about to bite his tongue. Died, then another round of needles were inserted into his body. Just looking at this scene was already painful for him. It's so painful that you can't open your mouth. Is that what you said? No matter what, don't open your mouth. If that's the case. So let's just say I did this to get revenge. The moans keep echoing in the quiet night due to pain. So much so that without realizing it, he passed out again. An hour later, he opened his eyes and woke up again. Thien Pham's voice was still behind him. To prepare for another round. Just now it was the left side, right? Now let's do a little bit of the right side. Maybe this time he should have said it's out now. You thought of something and don't want to talk about it yet. You should have told me sooner, you dumbass. He gasped because the interrogation didn't continue, but before he spoke, he read out the correct name of the masterman. Heard the name Moon's third eye, started to be surprised. You want to ask why I knew right. Thanks to the attention of the group leader at the 3 celestial eyes of the moon come every morning to let me know the content of the training in which group I am in. Who is the group member? It's very detailed, but now I still want to hear the words from your mouth. Have you heard clearly? Martial artist number 23 Tiger, the head poked and swallowed his saliva out of fear. He just understood that this was terrible, and if he had a little strength in the future, he wouldn't know. How can I accept good information from you? So let's end it here. I'm so confused and don't know what to do. What else should I do? He bowed his head in prayer and asked for a chance to start over. He saw Thien Pham's shadow approaching. He felt reassured. He raised his hand, causing his unfamiliar opponent to press 2 fingers hard on the acupuncture point in his temple. The whole person became dull. His mind gradually lost his eyes, and he gradually closed. He didn't have time to feel anything in his head. These few sentences clearly show that he has no internal power. But why is number 23's first day at the Waikwon going like that a few hours later? It was almost dawn when the master suddenly came to see his disciple as usual. As soon as he left, he felt very excited. He didn't expect the little boy. That guy developed so quickly, his mind immediately thought about yesterday's practice session and still had familiar movements to pass on Nikom for his disciples. But then he also expressed surprise that after only 5 days, he was able to successfully push Nikom into Dandian. For normal people takes at least 2 to 3 weeks. This is really faster than I imagined. I originally planned to let him accumulate internal energy for 2 weeks before teaching him basic moves. But perhaps the plan needs to be changed to go to the Waikwon tomorrow. Now he doesn't cause a commotion anymore. Pham was waiting at the door to bow and ask for Ma Long Dan when the male lead was there. Hide it behind your pillow. This is a type of medicinal pill made in the demon religion because it takes a lot of time to refine, so it can only be used to cultivate talents. The first time you absorb it, you will gain internal strength for 20 years, but if you drink it later, the effectiveness is reduced by half. So dreaming is very reassuring because after using it, the disciple will have internal energy for 20 years without needing to practice. This will be good for you after returning to Dao Quan to practice. Then he discovered that there was someone in the picture. Looks like there's someone lying there, right? When I opened it to see, the tiger was snoring. Could it be that he was being hit with a Huan acupuncture point? Isn't that right? Thien Pham told me the story that I almost lost my life. I also heard that he entered the demon temple for 5 days, and yesterday, he was seriously injured during a training session. It seems that he intentionally used his injured sword to come here and harm me, doing that at the demon shop's medicine shop and finding out that he will be immediately expelled from here if this guy has the courage to come here. The second level is that there is definitely someone who promised to take care of him and his family and then forced him to do such things using his dreams. He said things that the male lead knew all about. He also said directly that the culprit behind it was Thiem Moongayat, his brother and also a fellow student in the same group. He was afraid because the battle for the throne cannot let him know that his maternal family is also a member of the Phutma sect, the main male generation. I also lost sleep because of these things, so I was so used to it that when I looked at my disciple, my master looked bored and silently pitied his fate. The Sumon tunnel continues to give martial artist number 23 another shot. If acupuncture points have been applied with internal goo for less than a year, then a few hours, the next hour will automatically resolve. If you want to do it properly, you must at least have internal energy for over 10 years. You should clearly ignore it. About this, he immediately reminded his disciples to quickly bring the box that Ma Long was using because it smelled of durian, making Thien Pham feel sick. Until you reach your neck, bar it and swallow it, then you will be able to absorb all the power of the medicinal pill. The main difficulty is that it must be bitter and bitter. It's hard to swallow. Indeed, what you think is not very accurate. It's only 10 times bigger. If you're done, please sit down to start using Thien Tam Dharma. I will help you absorb the maximum benefits of Ma Long pill. Use your hands and back to transmitting internal force to the body. The medicinal pill had begun to invade his entire body. Nano knew that, so he patrolled Hoang, the meridian, to help speed up the process. In addition, it also asked permission to change the way by promoting metabolism. Although I don't understand how. But he still agreed that Su Dream's eyes were indeed cross-eyed because his body looked like it was given to him by Evan. Was progressing very quickly to 8 parts. This was making him very nervous, so it was about to be dawn again, and today's training session seems to be okay. Pham is acting strange because of the changes in his body as he drinks alcohol and asks questions. I can feel the internal energy boiling in my body. It's not really that hard. I'm still sweating, he guessed. My disciple now has 30 years of martial arts ability. Other martial arts students who use magic dragon pills are lucky to only have 10 years. The year was considered a success and hardship. After hearing this, my face looked like I was about to cry because I was so emotional. I would like to thank the master. If not, if someone coaxes you, you won't be able to do it. In fact, I'm thanking you both for Nano's efforts in this matter. I see there's nothing left to do, so I'm thinking about going home to catch up on sleep. It's already morning, so I have to leave. As I was walking out, Thien Pham spoke again, saying that from tomorrow you can continue learning Vu Del Fap, which is my introductory martial art. Are you right? This is the plan that Su Dream had planned from the beginning. But it's fun to hear that's of course. For the rest of your time here, try to study hard and do well as usual. Many martial arts students have already passed out. The yard to take attendance at the beginning of the lunar hour is in a relaxed and happy spirit, thinking that the task has been completed. It's all thanks to your sinister plan, Tahan. Now that scumbag is probably cowering like a worm, right? I want to quickly punch his face because my body is very itchy. Trong Min also started his work after re-examining the patients. The doctor burst out laughing because after just one night, the tiger suddenly looked like a dead man floating outside Din Tai. Very angry, but he couldn't do it because the male lead was right in the bed next to Trong Min and apologized and covered the curtain to prevent the martial artists from being embarrassed. When they passed by Thien Pham, they had to hesitate for a moment with an expression as if nothing was happening. This was definitely something happened last night. As a Yuan master of a demon shop, this is not a big deal. So let's ignore it. So 2 days later, at the dormitory of the Tam Gaya group, my face turned black because of the return of my junior tiger. Bong said it was because of him. Suit was on duty all night, so he didn't have time to act. Didn't he sleep? Don't lie, I'm just doing it. According to what the young master said, there's no need to keep watch at dawn. But when I look up, I only see Italians. You can't come over. As a nonsense doctor said, he pushed martial artist number 23 to the ground. You bastard, let's just say frankly that you can't do this job. Bak Kai spoke up again, telling Big Brother to stop. He bent down and asked the full name of the doctor at the medical clinic, Quan Bok Trong Min. I just heard that, and he kept mumbling that name over and over again. Finally, realizing that the doctor was the biological brother of the god Dr. Bok Trong Vu, the children realized that he was a man of the devil. Because of his passion for saving people, he is now the top physician of the demon sect. It is said that he is also the third highest expert here, even though he is not sure. But if he is his disciple, his martial arts are not ordinary. Gayat Mok realized that even if he had Kuho scholarship, it's useless to leave. He just punched and kicked him and swore that he would never aid his junior sect again, dodging his anger. Martial artist 23 thought back to the previous deceitful words that Ngayat Mok had promised using his reputation as the small master of the Phut Ma sect. After completing the work, you will receive great credit. It turns out that tigers also have their own sufferings. So they do this. But now, he swore that he wouldn't listen anymore. The other guy got bored and took off the towel on his junior's head. It looks so strange. Why are you wearing this incomprehensible thing? Your head is so shiny that you can see the ugliness of your moon eye. Really, I thought if I shaved my head, I would forgive me. Some other martial artists were not involved but seemed to be having a hard time. Because of this action, they were tired of fighting, so both of them left, feeling ashamed and secretly resentful of the story, the struggle of the Thien cousins. The Pope's illegitimate son, at the medical temple, Bok Trong Min confided to the man. It was that he didn't know anything about martial arts, and time passed like that until the next 7 days were soon approaching. By the time Thien Pham returns to practice at the Devil's Temple, a lot of things had probably changed inside and out. His solid body and walking also became more steadfast, and his power was different from when he was initially in the medical path. Master's shop still regularly observing the disciples practicing. This kid is indeed a genius who has only seen the Dafa camp for a few days. The position is fixed without being mixed and moving naturally. If you practice regularly and use the techniques, there will be absolutely no problem anymore. If you think about it, the dreamer also forces the disciple to make the next attacks. Thien Pham repeats everything exactly like the mold. The reason is Nano has scanned all of his master's actions, but he also knows that if Tom Tai is too fast, he will soon become suspicious, doubtful. So in my head, I silently told myself that I had to take it slow and move the moves skillfully, using the dream to know how to attack. My method has 24 moves, but now my disciples have memorized a dozen of them. He's very sad because time is limited, so he can't teach. Just a few more tips to reconnect in my head. I just wish it would hurt for another month or two and then feel comfortable. However, it was still impossible to go against the regulations of the demon sect. After a few martial arts sessions, Judge Mom allowed him to stop. Again, I'll give you a method to apply the internal martial arts techniques of the Wu Dao method, which I want to teach you directly because today is the last day with your head and feeling. You can learn the basics. Next time we meet, I will test you, so practice seriously. Don't be lazy. Thank you, Master. I won't. To disappoint the expectations of those who came here, I had planned to make a few steps to let him admire the sword right away. There was a spirit that flew towards the owner, opened the bag, and immediately knew that it was Kwang Vu's knife, pulled it out of its sheath, and immediately threw it to the disciple to try. Holding the weapon in his hand, it felt light and not as heavy as he thought. Most of the swords that martial artists use are the same. It's heavier than that, but the master's Kwang Vu knife weighs only half that of a normal fairy. It was the Wu Dao, so it was just a gentle slash that blew away the concrete of Bok Trong's hospital bed meh. Although the width of the blade is narrow and light in weight, it is made of iron and steel, so it is very sharp and sturdy. Please step back because now I'll show you what you want. So take a close look at this. It's my martial knife technique. Nano is about to have something to do. After doing it again, he went out to prepare to scan the entire animation of the story. The sky had begun to brighten and a thick fog had fallen. After finishing teaching at the training ground, Hugo Fap returned as usual. His movements were blocked by the demon sword and Lai Ho Min saw it all. Perhaps they knew it for a long time, but still silently ignored it without saying anything about how much the Dharma protector should change. That useless guard was just about to walk away when the left guard spoke up, wondering why he cared about that. What's the reason for this? It's certainly not a coincidence that you have the right to teach martial arts from a person with such power and authority. I mean, this is not someone else. Maybe it's the leader. Don't doubt his decision. The demon sword performed the spell and then disappeared. It's true that the deity has already disappeared in front of your eyes. If you want to leave, no one can stop you in just 14 days. Will it make any difference? As soon as I arrived at work, Bok Trong Min had a serious look at his eyes as soon as he arrived. He was already awake, but why is he still sleeping at this hour? Anyway, today is the last day of rest. After getting out of here, it will definitely be difficult for it to sleep a little longer, so Nano still silently copies the Uter skills. The dream predicted that it would take half an hour to reach 100 minutes. An hour later, because there was nothing to do, the doctor still lay down in a corner to sleep in. Perhaps this is the most leisurely job in the demon shop. The sounds of vomiting and spitting made him suddenly woke up and then hurriedly ran over with a worried look on his face. This was the natural reflex of Thied Pham's body after having finished sleeping. Completed the copying job. Why did I suddenly convulse and vomit? Is it okay? Do you feel pain anywhere? Next, after a while, Bok Trong Min stabilized. He continued to check his pulse to check his health. He didn't understand why I just woke up and my pulse beats like I've been exercising too hard. It's unbelievable, and even for someone who's sleeping. Nano is moving into the final steps to calm the mood of Thied Pham. Trong Min has never met the type of person. The illness changed my face like this because I don't know why, so let's just leave here for now and go eat. What are you going to do? Just left the pair. The male lead's eyes have opened and now he feels safe because there is no one in here. The martial arts scanning process has been completed. After completing 100 minutes, just feeling it at a glance makes me feel very strong. The change is so different from 3 hours ago. You know how hard it is for me to practice, right? If you knew I could only study for that much time, it would be a shock, thinking back to that early morning. There were also so many unexpected things that the figure of the dreamer was as fast as the wind without needing to use the internal strength that he had learned. Created formidable shocks. Then Nano understood the master's intention and promptly copied it. Then your little guy saw everything clearly. It's a pity that I don't have to teach you tricks properly, because today is the last day before leaving. He repeatedly warned his disciples. Returning to Ma Dao Quan will be very difficult. Remember the words, we should never let ourselves lose. I understand that now I have one more person to worry about while I'm here. Then I will. It doesn't disappoint the master that Nano has already finished the analysis, but it has finished and the estimated completion time is no less than 6 hours. 3 hours. Why did it take so long? Just thinking about this makes me so happy the work is done. Now it's time for Tet to try a few moves and see how they go. Just choose a few light movements and the charisma will radiate greatly. Just the first move made the master's clothes unable to go anywhere. I'm planning on doing the second move to see what happens. There is a suspicion that I can feel someone walking in the hallway. Sure enough, my body has changed and I can feel it. From there, having risen so high, I've already made all the preparations. As soon as the white doctor walked in, he looked a bit surprised, confused. Thien Pham made an excuse that he wanted to prepare his things to leave here. Then he put on his martial arts uniform and took the card with the red number 7. Trong Min looked sad. From now on, there will be nothing more to do. I thank the doctor for taking care of him. Even though it's been hard in the past, I hope you'll always have luck. Having said that, we both said goodbye, and Thien Pham leaves now. I have nothing to do, or should I go to sleep? If the doctor knew that I learned martial arts from dear Dharma Protector, you will definitely not allow the patients here all this time that you want me to bring in later for you to mumble about. Mukngayat's side became cold and gave rise to goosebumps. The next day, at the large martial arts arena, many other martial artists were waiting. Disgust because of Thien Pham's presence after 14 days of eating and sleeping at Kwan Ngayat Muk Hospital. Very happy because he was about to have the opportunity. The assassination attempt finally appeared. Why did that lowly guy with dirty blood, Lam Bin, see him and ask about his love? Health status. Everyone has completely recovered, which is truly very lucky, although we have explained it theoretically, but do you still remember? If that's the case, that's great. Take this and go back to receive the weapon. Thien Pham returned to the row and the annoying young master started to speak sarcastically. You're so scared that's why you're here now, huh? He also said a few more unpleasant words, but his attitude still seemed to be indifferent. Even Ngayat Muk understood the problem and immediately turned around angrily. That the male lead is looking down on me, you're already agitated. Thien Muk Ngayat. That Lam Bin mentioned it remind everyone that today there will be practical training in the use of swords. Jiao Dao warns that if an accident like last time occurs, any student will be expelled. With bad intentions, they all shouted the 2 words demonic in unison. Thus the training had begun. However, Lam Bin only focuses on one person. Although Mukngayat's personality is arrogant and fierce, he coordinates very well with the martial arts students around him. And on Thien's side, of course, he was arranged in a position with little movement to avoid making mistakes. But at first glance, it seems like that's not the case. The male lead's attitude was as if he hadn't taken a day off because he was afraid of an accident like last time. Zhao Tu looked very nervous. Good job, don't move until I give the order. 15 minutes later, it seems like all of you, the martial arts students, are barely standing and can't stand seriously. If so, how could they win against the other teams in the second phase? Lam Bin just shouted. He also kept looking in Thien Pham's direction. He didn't understand why he wasn't tired and didn't look like someone who had just returned from the hospital. Maybe it was his opinion. This leader gradually changed his view of 7th Master. When half of the students began to tremble, he immediately raised the flag, gold to form half of the enemy's encirclement. Ngayat Muk also screamed and shouted hoarsely to command troops and generals, his eyes constantly paying attention to his junior brother. You bastard, haven't you made any mistakes? Why does that dirty blood want to? I saw how well you did. Then he thought of another plot and immediately passed the message to Ta Huan. I know that when the formation changes for the 3rd time, you should do as I say. The junior nodded in agreement with the request. After a while, the first wind began to wave the green flag for the 3rd formation. This was the most difficult time because the shields had to be placed on top of each other, and swords were thrust between them to create a solid line of defense, which was easy because Nano had recorded everything. There are also images that simulate swords being thrust between the shields to create an attack position for martial artists. Other students are having to be very careful not to crash into the person in front. One saw the exact point he was looking for, and now he smiled and raised his paw forward. But Thien Pham sensed this and immediately turned around to look at his fellow student. I was startled and scared because I was being looked at. Well, if I was Mukngayat's errand boy, I would have to do it. I will do my best, but as soon as I touch it, The Nano's defense system kicks in and Huan is defeated, shooting very far out of the formation. Mukungayat also frowned from afar when he saw that his junior still didn't understand what was going on. What's going on? I was thrown out because his internal attack was stronger than Lam Bin. He immediately ran to the martial arts area. That student didn't know what kind of punishment he would soon receive. Thank Huan. He quickly stood up to explain but was just trying to get in the way when he woke up. He felt a sharp pain running from the bottom of his heel to his head, which was the consequence of being pushed out of internal affairs at the time. At this, Thin Pham also turned down to look at his enemy. He gave a mocking smile, full of satisfaction, and thanked Huan, biting his inner lip. I'm angry, but I'm already gritting my teeth. Do you want to learn more? Let me explain. Last time with a hammer to the stomach, did you stab martial artist number 23 in the back? Surely you wouldn't have whenever you have free time in 3 days. Please endure the hellish training of the first teacher until you go to sleep. In fact, many people immediately knew that this action was definitely caused by Ngayat's celestial eye, causing the man's teeth to grind loudly because his plan had failed again. Despite the mumbling sounds like Thin Pham was about to be eaten alive, these images were actually captured by Liho. Min saw everything. He still didn't know how much his internal strength had increased after he ate the Ma Long pill. In his heart, I'm sure that drunk guy's teachings are useless, but does that kid have enough innate qualities to absorb everything? Other than that, there are probably no words to explain the effectiveness of the elixir. After all, half of the blood is. It's really interesting that both candidates for the position of future patriarch are in the same star group as his son. When the practice is over, all the students have returned to the dining room and have not heard the instructor's command before everyone begins to eat the food. Delicious and steaming. The male lead freely enjoyed the delicious dishes. He'd had to eat white porridge for 14 days. Lately I've been very bland, but I honestly don't want to show off anymore. Moon's fairy eyes continuously looking at him. I don't understand why he hates me so much, but I can't forgive you. 6 great sex. It's definitely you. I don't know the feeling of having to watch my mother die as helplessly as I do, but after eating and drinking enough, the leader ordered everyone to disperse. Was the time when Tavwan was most worried that he had to follow Lam Bin alone to receive punishment. Thin Pham's expression was very happy, satisfied that he had successfully retaliated. He slowly returned to the dormitory. Group 8's bedroom on the first floor was really simple. I realized that I was planning to find a place, but that bad guy said that you came here with my permission. Of course it's not wrong. Now is the time for him to start acting like Tak Kwai, evil people forming factions. Wherever they go, they want to be superior. But a large number of martial arts students gathered excitedly, causing the Angel Loon or juniors to also pay attention. She didn't understand the difference between the two. What else is that person about to do? This is exactly according to the plan that the young master of the Fuck Ma sect calculated. He went straight to his half-brother. A meaningful sentence mixed with contempt came from Du Chuang's mouth. The filthy blood only knows how to hide the Waiquan like a stubborn person. In the past, you lived well, but Thin Pham didn't. Because of these words, he was angry and only said a few words, making it difficult for him to understand. Are you insulting the leader? You have the same blood as me. It's not like you're insulting him. You dare to pollute the sky of my religion's position. Yours is quite high, isn't it? The kids behind continued to whisper that Mukungayat's idea was so bad when he planned to do it for you. Angry, but on the contrary, he was humiliated. Thien Vien Liu guessed that everyone in Phukma sect was all brainwashed. Kung Van also silently observed in his mind, thinking, I don't understand why that idiot Moon Gayat keeps doing such despicable things. At this time, Thin Pham is already being punished. He picked up his neck, accompanied by Mukungayat's angry words, and was about to raise his hand to punch, but he immediately gave it to him. Once again, the pain was so painful that I had to bend down and groan. What are you trying to say, that arrogant guy with a bloody nose? Blood from his mouth was flowing around this guy's face. His expression now looked so unsightly. He cursed and rushed in order to retaliate against him. This guy used Phukma fist to attack, but Thin Pham promptly moved aside. Seemingly, I don't want to cause trouble here. You bastard, you want to run away. Why do you look surprised? I don't understand why. Having such a strong light attack, Mukungayat shouted loudly, ordering his juniors to quickly chase after him. Now he was very nervous. Angry, he dared to attack me and then run away. If I left him alone, I wouldn't be a miserable person wandering around. At the back of the dormitory, there were a few guys who were struggling to run after student number 203, who didn't understand why he didn't leave. But every time I get close to catching him, he runs away, so I can't reach him. Fairy Moongayet stood in the background, expressing her frustration with her junior's sluggishness. Just having me around should suffice. Wrap up quickly and head home, she murmured, hinting at repercussions for tardiness. Ha! Feeling irritated, engaged in a pursuit with the others until they reached a certain point where Ma Daoquan deemed it satisfactory and called for a halt. As I tried to rise, I heard someone approach from behind. Exhausted from fleeing, I noticed Thien Pham's eagerness to escape. What's so amusing? I wondered, mustering my energy to advance. On the contrary, our adversary, preferring secrecy, resorted to a forceful blow to my head, catching me off guard. Struggling to defend myself, I instinctively raised my arms, but the impact was overwhelming, sending me reeling backward. Despite exerting considerable strength, I still sustained injuries. How can he possess such strength? Was he plotting this from the start? I pondered, feeling bewildered. Moongayet, intrigued by the newcomer's audacity, observed his lack of internal strength but admired his bold demeanor. As the tension escalated, the juniors intervened, signaling the commencement of the martial Dao technique. However, our opponent regained composure, deftly evading Fuck Ma's strike and retaliating with a powerful blow to his abdomen, eliciting a pained response. Unaccustomed to such adversity, Puck Ma hesitated, unable to adapt his techniques accordingly. Realizing his deficiency in combat experience, Thien Pham acknowledged his oversight. I underestimated Fairy Moongayet's insight. He admitted ruefully, acknowledging the vast disparity in martial prowess. Determined to retaliate, Thien Pham resolved to subdue his adversaries first before interrogating them. As the confrontation escalated, Nano detected an external threat, prompting defensive maneuvers. Thien Pham marveled at Nano's adept evasion of attacks, facilitated by its analytical capabilities. Desperate to counter, Thien Pham unleashed a barrage of punches, only to be outmatched by the opponent's prowess. Overwhelmed by pain and inner turmoil, memories of his mother's encouragement flooded his mind, urging him to persevere. As tensions escalated, exchanges between Moongayet and Thien Pham turned hostile, their frustration evident. Unaware of the depth of his emotions, Thien Pham found himself consumed by anger, his thoughts spiraling out of control. Seeing the opponent lying helpless already revealed the main issue. The protagonist lacked combat experience, so he didn't know how to effectively use sword techniques suitable for his level. Despite being somewhat surprised, "You rushed too quickly." He raised his voice. "Indeed, you're the one who doesn't know your own limits." Listening to these words, Thien Pham understood why things turned out this way. I underestimated that guy from Tianmu sect. I didn't expect such a difference in practical combat experience. Your martial arts skills are deeper than I thought. First, I'll have to step back and then slowly inquire. The fifth move of the Fuck Ma martial arts technique was about to come towards me, but the protagonist still didn't know what to do. Suddenly, Nano issued a notification of detecting an external threat. To deal with the threat, it activated enhanced reality information, visual perception, and defensive mode through combat action instructions. Just as it was deployed, he noticed the opponent's posture and easily dodged. The sounds of physical force clashing echoed. Thien Musek threw consecutive punches, but they all missed. He even got countered stronger than himself. Thien Pham still hadn't figured out anything. It was all Nano controlling everything. In the end, what was he using? Numerous specific animations appeared in his retinas, guiding him on how to punch and dodge. It means individual guidance, analyzing the opponent's movements and providing results within 0.1 seconds. Thien Pham didn't want to, and instead of punching, he asked, "Can you operate the sword technique system?" The system analyzed and was immediately approved. "You're proficient in the Dao Qian. You dirty name. It seems there's much hidden," he taunted, "but your luck won't affect me." Nano quickly switched from boxing defense mode to using the sword technique. Now the protagonist could see all of the opponent's attacks, gracefully maneuvering and avoiding perfectly. "How could you evade all my punches?" he thought, but Thien Pham retaliated immediately. He was hit hard, feeling intense pain. His mind recalled some trivial matters. His mother's voice echoed. If only my child did well, the sect leader would care for you from that poor boy's hand. No matter what, you must win. Just thinking about this, Tian Fan became furious. Do you think I'll lose to a coward like you? The words win and lose stuck firmly in his mind. His body trembled, moving slowly towards Tian Fan, his fist clenched as if he only wanted to kill him. But Tian Fan was quick to control the opponent, tightly gripping his arm and pushing him to the ground. He didn't resist anymore. The space became quiet as it was late in the evening. Tian Fan didn't bother to fight anymore. Tian Musek continued to curse him for being despicable, carrying the blood of cowards. He cried and begged for not being able to fight back. With internal energy, he started to attract the attention of his younger brothers, who began to look at him with respect. If they teamed up, they weren't sure they could beat Tian Musek. 14 days ago, they didn't even have internal energy. Now, what to do? The protagonist knew these guys wouldn't dare, so he allowed them to take their master away, whispering to himself, not only strength, but also my own authority, then everyone will serve. Seeing Tian Fan's embarrassment, the despicable guy, why not finish your little prank now? Tian Fan reminded lightly. If it weren't for the Phase 2 test, I would have smashed your head already. Keep talking like that, and you'll truly be killed. Montgoyet continued to curse. But Tian Fan felt too much headache and left. Seems like this anger inside him couldn't be suppressed. Walking on the road, Tian Fan breathed out softly. It's really dangerous. If it weren't for Nano, I would have lost. He knew no matter how fast he learned martial arts, experience was a crucial factor. Even if he mastered the sword technique perfectly, he couldn't be like his master. To reach higher levels, he needed internal energy and experience. But the 6 great sects wouldn't let him accumulate quietly. First, he needed to know how to use what he already had correctly. Thinking about it, he spoke up to inquire about Nano. How many skills can we use from what you've recorded? Currently, the master can use 3P class skills in the internal profile, and there are no cases using more than 30% of the Nano machine's features. He felt relieved. Not all, but there were still many features that could be used. Nano helped the owner transfer detailed information from the 7th generation Nano brain to the brain. One difficult thing was that the programming language here was English. So, Tian Fan requested the transmission of English proficiency and detailed functions of the 7th generation Nano machine. This process took some time because the protagonist's body needed to adapt to a lot of information, but the discomfort gradually decreased, unlike at the beginning. Everything was now finished, and it was time to explore everything immediately. All data appeared in the protagonist's mind, images related to martial arts or expertise. Finally, what is this? Can I understand all of this? Looking through the simulation feature, repeatedly facing opponents in reality, he knew that this would compensate for the lacking experience for simulation. He needed information related to the opponent's actions. So Tian Fan chose Montgoyet. Although the information was not complete, for the time being, Nano could create a simulation based on the notes during combat. It's a bit regrettable, but now is the time for him to test the Nano system. Tian Fan found a deserted place to avoid people immediately. The entity of Tian Mu sect began to appear gradually. Those were simulations in reality. Is it true that only I can see this? Nano requested adjustment of the simulation information before activation. Please adjust the impact ratio that the simulation causes to the user. If you want it to be real, then select 100%, otherwise, just lower it. Hearing this, Tian Fan immediately chose 100% Fadid from speech to appearance. It was no different from a real person. He truly couldn't understand why the simulation also included his bad traits. Because it's a simulation, the protagonist can break it as much as he wants. But the important thing is, can he break any of them? If he doesn't see the attack, the simulation of Tian Mu sect will rush in with the Fuck Ma Qian technique. Looking through it, he also knew it was really similar. Tian Fan had actively attacked the simulation, repeating the techniques his master had taught because it was 100% simulation, so it could detect movements immediately. Thus, he exposed a loophole and was immediately retaliated against, forcing him to step back. Also, with pain, Nano informed that it had recreated everything based on the information the owner had experienced. While considering readjusting, Tian Fan said it wasn't necessary, The simulation still portrayed the personality and voice of the original, just like him. Tian Pham felt irritated just by looking at it. He continued to train with it. The sounds on the ground and the sound of Quian Quoc kept echoing in the night. Later, it was already late at night. Tian Pham breathed heavily because he had lost a lot of energy. Judging from the time, it was already 23 o'clock. He expressed dissatisfaction because after training 15 matches, he only won one last match. He knew that he lost the first match because of lack of defense experience and being hit by the simulation. At this rate, if he competed for real, he would surely lose to it miserably. Nano announced that as experience accumulated, the ability increased proportionally. Each continuous training session, the movements of the owner would also change frequency. Using the sword technique correctly was increasing rapidly. Tian Pham didn't know what to do now because using only 3 basic techniques was enough. Beating ordinary people, within 7 days, he was sure he could easily defeat the simulation of Tianmu sect. Then he returned to the dormitory of the Devil's sect. Because it was rest time, he still didn't know where to sleep. Stepping into the room, everyone was deliberately avoiding and only defeated one of the candidates. The Lil sect leader knew they had paved the way for him. Suddenly, arrogantly, he ran over to welcome him excitedly, showing the protagonist where to rest. There were many others, looking surprised, not understanding why it acted like that. Tian Pham himself was no different, wondering why it changed its attitude so much. Obviously, it had been abandoned by Tianmu sect, so there was nowhere else to turn. Anyway, life is about to end, so he had to take a chance. After thinking, he knelt down and expressed his desire to be accepted as a disciple. It's strange why it wanted to be loyal to the 7th young master, someone with no power. Your family said they would treat me like a lord, right? Suddenly, it straightforwardly apologized for the previous incident and promised to be obedient for the rest of its life. Tian Pham couldn't believe anyone just by looking at their expression. Feeling a bit hesitant,